Hi, I'm Amita. Come right with me. I thank you for engaging with my other posts about creativity, the creative brain, how it works. This, as you know, I like to talk about both about writing but also other forms of creativity, so do come and check out some of the other posts that I've got up already. I'm going to do one on craft, the writing craft, right now, because that's what a lot of people ask me. You know, can you do some posts on craft? So I'm going to do one. I'm going to do several on each element of craft. So, for example, setting. I'm going to do a few that are going to look at the different elements of setting that are important. But today I'm going to look at the importance of detail in setting. So the best way to do craft exercises is actually to read. So I'm going to read two excerpts right now to explain this idea of detail, and I'm going to read one from Colin Barrett from his short story Let's Go Kill Ourselves. It was published in the Irish Times, and you can find it online. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph, and I want you to notice the level of detail that he puts into the writing. Attempting to light a wet cigarette can bring a man to the verge of tears. My last Marlboro had been struck by a flake of snow as I went to tuck it into the corner of my mouth, soaking it through. I'd spent the following 5 minutes applying the flame of my disposable lighter to its sodden end, to little effect. And my gloveless hands were beginning to turn a bright, raw pink. It was below zero, and the snow was still coming down in heavy, wet, moth-sized plumes. I checked my watch, but there was no watch attached to my wrist. I brushed my hands through my hair and remembered I was a person. I was standing at the rear of the Pearl Hotel bus shelter in the empty heart of Dunvale town on a dead Friday night. End of December, end of the year. Plexiglass enclosed me on 3 sides. A fluorescent bar embedded in the shelter's ceiling jittered above my wet head. My battered duffel bag was propped in one corner, freighted with a semester's worth of dog-eared notepads, a 3-month accretion of foul-smelling clothes, and the latest exorbitantly annotated translation of Blaise Pascal's Pensées, on which I had a paper due at some point in the new year. Okay, so the first 2 paragraphs, because there's more detail in the second, so I wanted you to see that. Notice the level of detail. Now, when I say detail, so for example, this sentence, in heavy, wet, moth-sized plumes, that's not detail. That's not what I mean when I say detail. We'll talk about that another time. Description, you know, the importance of figurative language like metaphor and simile and all of that, and we'll get to that another time. But today I just want you to notice the actual level of named things, named places, named objects, named things. That's really important, and I think that's where many times writers don't do enough, especially when you're starting out, but also sometimes later on. So if you notice in the second paragraph, the number of named things. So standing at the rear of the Pearl Hotel bus shelter in the empty heart of Dunvale town on a dead Friday night. So there's already quite a lot of names there. End of December. Okay, plexiglass enclosed me on 3 sides. Then you've got the battered duffel bag, and the duffel bag has loads of things in it, like dog-eared notepads and foul-smelling clothes, and also a particular book, right, by Blaise Pascal's Pensées. So that the level of detail, what does it do? Now, sometimes when writers are starting out, they'll say things like, well, shouldn't I make it so that the reader can interpret the setting? Like, isn't it better if all the different kinds of readers can just enter the setting and interpret it the way that they want, or visualize it the way they want? Now, that doesn't work. Now, I want one little caveat here, that of course I will be explaining various craft rules or do's and don'ts, in my craft videos, and you're welcome to play with them, and you're welcome to use what works for you, and welcome to experiment with what you want to kind of push the boundaries of. But that doesn't mean that these aren't there for a reason. And the reason for the importance of the level of detail is not only so that the reader can visualize it the way that you're visualizing it, it's actually so that the reader can suspend the outside world and enter into your world. And it's really strange. In this one I can't quite explain, but I intuitively know this from having read quite a lot, obviously, like you will have as well, that when there isn't much detail and actually someone has created quite a general world, generalized kind of, could be anywhere, it's actually not easy for the reader to identify with it. It's actually easier to identify with something, even though it might look very different from your surroundings or your context. Even then, it's easier to enter a world, and it's easier to relate to a world when you can enter it fully and you've got the named detail. So named detail to me is one of the key factors that actually a lot of writers miss out on. Even if you're writing non-fiction, not fiction, if you're writing memoir, gosh, take us there, it's so important. Take us there, show us your version. If it's just London, and you people say loads of people that will read your novel have already, they know London. It's still your London that we want to see. It's the same with New York. We don't want to see the same old New York. We want some relatable things that we've seen before, but actually we want your particular take on it. We want to see what you see. So we will talk more about other aspects of detail, but of setting rather, but detail to me is one of the key ones. I'll read one little excerpt more from Raven Leilani's Luster. On Thursday morning, the hot water isn't running, and there is a new mouse caught in the trap. My roommate and I have been supporting a family of mice for 6 months. We have gone through a series of traps and yelled at each other in Home Depot about what constitutes a humane death. My roommate wanted to bomb the place, but none of our windows open. So we have these plain glue traps that are engineered to smell like peanut butter. The thing is, to unstick the mouse, I have to go outside and pour canola oil on its feet. Yes, there are always tunnels in my bread. Yes, my landlord, a 23-year-old flat tummy tea Instagram shill who inherited the building from her grandfather, is ignoring my emails. But we are all trying to eat. Okay, so again, if you notice the level of detail, this is still setting, right? Now, what you might notice, and I will do a different post on this, that setting is connected to character. This is where, again, many people don't quite grasp the fact that when you're doing setting, you're also establishing your character. Now, in this case, again, I'll do another post on point of view at another time, but if you notice that the point of view character is the one that's telling us this story. So the way they tell this setting, the way that they establish this setting is actually about them too. So we'll do that in another post, but just notice again the named detail. It's less than in Colin Barrett's one that I just read, but you've got the named Home Depot, you've got the family of mice, you've got the peanut butter, you've got the canola oil, you've got the flat tummy tea Instagram shill. You've got these named details that really take us into all different kinds of things. You see the setting, you see the context, you see the time period, because you've got the Instagram reference there. So, I just want you to think about detail today. And we'll look at other aspects of why setting is important. But if you can, it's a really good exercise, whether you're writing fiction or not, doesn't really matter whether it's fiction or non-fiction. I want you to think back to a particular setting. Now, it could just be a room, but it could, or a garden, something fairly pedestrian, or just like an anonymous street. But it could also be, it could be Istanbul, or it could be when you went to the Niagara Falls, or wherever you like, Paris if you like. Malaysia, if you like, whatever it is, but maybe go back to a particular setting that you don't have to know it inside out, but that you've been to, which was and it may be an interesting or intense experience for you. And I want you to start just thinking about the named detail first, and you can make this into just like a word list or a phrase list or a bullet point list. It doesn't matter, just to start with, just to get those named details in. And then I want you to perhaps write a paragraph or two, putting you or your character into that detailed setting with the named description. I want you to do that so that you can really understand how this is done. Now, what I want you to think about is this thing that I have said in the past, that writing isn't about writing the first draft. Writing the first draft is quite a raw experience. It's more like you're just letting it all out. And that's what a first draft is. And there are times where you're so into a novel that it's going too fast. Your hands are typing. They can't quite even keep up with the level of your brain working. So because it's working so fast, at that time isn't the time where you really want to go into the detail. You write your thing, you write your scene, but then you need to come back and you need to flesh it out. So think about this idea of world building, what we talk about for fantasy authors and sci-fi authors. We say that they need to do world building, and that world building is actually something that all authors, doesn't matter what context or genre you're writing in, we all need to do it, because you are still creating the world that you're writing about. Okay, so that's your task, and I will do more craft videos as we go. I will definitely be doing some on setting and other aspects of setting. I'll do some on character, plotting, tension, all of those good things. So do stay tuned in. And if you like what you hear, it would be great if you could like, follow and subscribe for free, because I would love to keep on communicating with you. Thanks for listening today.